Yeah, no, I thought that was hilarious because that hair. When Lucas walks up for the first time in season 5, I looked at that hair and I was like, "Oh,
what is going on?" You know, black people are going to say that. Who on set? You know what? Let's get. Welcome everybody to Blerdlines. This is your man Cam, and with me is
Professor D. I'm back. We're back.
And you might have heard a little of us going off on our man Lucas in Stranger Things. That's right. We are here to give our reaction to the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things season 5. They're doing a whole weird thing where they're dropping 4 now, 3 on Christmas, and then they're going to do a theatrical release with the final series finale on New Year's. So they're doing a whole thing. They're trying to milk this. I mean, again, it makes sense. This is literally one of their flagships. It's, you know, it's one of their flagships of the last 10 years. So do it up. Makes perfect sense.
It's their most successful show. I mean, I think before you probably would have included 3, 4, 5 years ago, you would have included House of Cards in that
totally
category. But because of all the things with Spacey and the fact that the last 2 seasons were just abysmal. Now Stranger Things is Netflix's, it's their Game of Thrones, their whatever, The Boys. Mad Men. Like it's their flagship franchise. And it's likely that as you saw, not as you saw, but I've been seeing rumors, and I don't know, I haven't followed up, that they're trying to do a Nancy Wheeler spinoff for the character Nancy Wheeler, who is what's the Finn Wolfhard character's name? Mike. Mike's big sister. And I think that's interesting. I have no idea where that show would go, but I guess we'll have to see where they end things in the finale.
Honestly, I could see it being like kind of like a Nancy Drew type of thing, where it's like her solving like supernatural / like murder mystery type of things. Guilty pleasure. I used to watch the Nancy Drew series on CW. It's not good, but it's a guilty pleasure. So that's what they call it, guilty.
I think everybody likes that detective stuff, and so Nancy Drew is still a detective at the end of the day. So
100%. I think that's the cool thing I liked about that Nancy Drew show was that it was a detective mystery show, but then it had a supernatural element. And so then they added in the CW teen stuff that just is always a thing. So
that's inevitable. So, that CW can't survive without the teen coming of age stuff.
So I would say got 4 episodes. Part of the reason why me and D are talking about this is because we're the only 2 out of the 4 that watches this, and we've come this far. So we're going to finish.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is Stranger Things will be one of those TV shows by accident that is totally a generational experience, because my nephew grew up with this show and all of his, and, people in his age group. And the funny thing is, I remember asking him, was he going to watch the final season? He's like, no, I'm not going to watch it. It's been too long. It's been like 2.5, 3 years. And then I see him on Thanksgiving, and, they released it the day before, I think. Or was it on Thanksgiving? Or no, I think it was on Thanksgiving. And I see him later in that evening, and I say, hey, did you watch Stranger Things? He's like, yeah, I watched all 4 episodes. And I told him, I just laughed. I said, yeah, I knew you would. Because it's one of those things, I personally, I do think that it's been too long. I mean, they're no longer kids. They are full adults now.
Caleb, I always forget his last name, but he plays Lucas. He was McFarlane. Yeah, he was 16, I think. No, 14 when the show started. He's now 24. Yeah,
he's the oldest.
Yeah, and Bobby Millie Brown, she is like, she changed her name. She got married. She had a kid. She a full-on woman. They're like, and I think that's the thing where watching the show, I enjoyed like being back. Like I went back and watched the last 2 episodes just for context. And then I was like, okay, let me watch the last 2, caught me back up. boom, I'm in it. I'm the characters are there, that kind of stuff. It's funny because I'm glad I did because you're right. I'd spent about 2 years, and this is the problem that Netflix is having, and they have to figure this out. I don't know how they're going to figure it out because the '90s figured this out, the '00s figured this out, but for some reason in the 2020s, like every show that's a good prestige show takes 2 years to make. And because of that, again, you can't make these kid shows. And Percy Jackson on Disney is having the same problem where they rebooted the series. It was a movie franchise before. Now it's a television series. Their first season dropped in 2023. Seasons 2 dropped just recently. It's 2025. And now these kids are grown up, right? They all got casted by about 15, 16. Now here they are at 17 and 18. So we're at this point where if you're going to do a kid show, you almost have to figure out how your scheduling is because these kids are going to grow up where that was the thing that, how TV did it back in the day was they would do 24 episodes or they would do back-to-back stuff so that it would all be in the space of like, in 18 months, you're maybe knocking out 3 seasons. So the kids are still the same age where now, it literally can be 3 years before we get a next thing where people forget. This happened to Sandman. This happened to a couple other really good shows that by the time they came back, people were like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. I kind of liked it. I almost forgot what happened last time,
Yeah, I think only a few shows, and Stranger Things is one of those shows that could pull that off. And as we see that it did when it came back, people were excited to see it. Netflix did a great job with the marketing, which tells you that
always,
again, when they want to market things and when these studios and these networks and these streaming services, when they really want something to be successful, they will put marketing dollars behind it. And this is one of those examples. And, the thing with Stranger Things is it doesn't need to have that much behind it, just like House of the Dragons or any of that stuff. But you still want to give it the proper promotion because, why take the risk of it debuting and nobody, it being the proverbial tree falling in the forest with no one around to hear it. That's what would have happened to Stranger Things as well, but it didn't, and it came through, and they dropped those 4 episodes, and it really did pick up as if that amount of significant time had not passed, or it didn't feel like it had as much had passed. They didn't try to overload you with story, and they established what's going on quite quickly. And they also try to make sense in the narrative world, the time jump, right? So, or the time, what am I looking for? But struggling. The amount of time that has passed, right? So, they don't pretend like the kids are still the same age that they were.
Yeah,
I noticed that
was a good move that they did. I thought where they, and I noticed this even with rewatching the last episode from season 4 was like when they finally got everyone back together. Folks came back from Russia. Folks came back from California. Like they got everybody back in, and they had those little jabs. They're like, "Oh man, you got taller." I'm like, "Oh, you lost weight."
Yeah, and which is again, you appreciate that because it's the Duffer Brothers not taking themselves serious. They're acknowledging the fact that we've drawn this thing out, and these kids were really children when we started, but now they are legitimately either a year away from adulthood or fully fledged, several years into adulthood, have, like you said, Millie Bobby Brown began to start the lifestyle of an adult, which is, marriage and children and focusing on other parts of the career and stuff like that. But I do think that they didn't shy away from that. They make it so that you see that Steve, the older kids, Steve, Nancy, I always forget. I always forget the older brother of. And now I'm forgetting his name. Winona Ryder's kid. The characters. Hang on. The characters. Her children. I always forget their name, but they make it clear. Oh, the Byers. Will and Jonathan. And so they made it clear that Jonathan, Nancy, Robin, and Steve have all finished school. They're out of school now, and they are working in And I think that may have been Steve. That may have been a last season thing as well, because I remember Steve was working last season, and I don't think he was in school, but I think he was the first. He was always older than all of them, so he would have been the first to graduate anyway.
Yeah, and I like that they kind of made it in the. They had a few scenes in school, but like they quickly pivoted out of that, which is smart, because at this point, like, yeah, they're all way too old, and they look old. So,
and it's all in game stuff now, where it's like they're on a race against the clock. There's this whole split that we saw happen in the end of season 4 between the dimensions that isn't safe, and now we know a significant. That's another way that they showed the significance of the time jump, is that the military had time to come in and build installations that wouldn't and put the entire Hawkins, Indiana, under quarantine, strict quarantine.
Yeah. And I like that they had that where everyone's now used to the quarantine too, right? Oh, we can't go this place, we can't go there. Oh, this is the things we can't do. Yeah, so now you see that the town is like accepted that this is what the new normal is, and then they're trying to work around it and figure it out. Like you see, the Byers kids are now all living under the same roof as their homies, and their parents are kind of just like, "Wait, how long is this going to go on for?"
Yeah, the Byers have moved in with the not the Wheel. Is it the Wheelers or is it the
Wheelers with the Wheelers.
With the Wheelers, yeah. The Byers
have moved in with the Wheelers. And so now everyone's in the same house, under the same roof. So they're contending with like just being on top of each other, which is hilarious. And I think the other part that they did good too, or did well, was making sure they had touch points for the whole of the series, to the point where, and it made sense when they came in, as opposed to just like, surprise, this person's here. So like, say for instance, when I was watching, I had the double take. Hey, where's Lucas's sister at? And then when she pops up, oh, it actually makes sense.
And she's always so good. The actress who
steals the show.
She just steals every scene that she's in. And you obviously want them to like keep her out of the danger for them, because you don't want anything to happen to her. But at the same time, you do want to get to see her involved. And I think they did try to make her appear younger than she actually is, because
her name's Priya Ferguson, and she's a little bit older too. And I think they did a good job. Like, I think the other part that Stranger Things always does well is their supporting cast is memorable. And like, you don't like, even when someone pops up like freaking dipshit Derek, like I was kind of like, who's this fat roly poly kid? Okay, delightful Derek. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, and he's he's supposed to be. They're all some archetype from the 80s, right? From 80s movies, 80s pop culture, 80s everything. Like Derek is totally the Mikey. Give it to Mikey. He likes it. Character from the. They are all fit into those various until they break out, right? So they set them into those archetypes, and then they allow them to break out. Derek. They established that this is a child who's being manipulated by a monster, a real monster. So he shouldn't be written off as, okay, we just only concerned with stopping Vecna. So whatever happens to him, happens to him. No, they bring him in, they make him a part of it. And I think that is one of the charms of the writing that has always existed in the show, is that none of the characters, when they've introduced them and they've been a part of the story, has felt for nothing. Like they have always had a strong presence in the story. And one of the treats this season that I really didn't know, because I didn't do any looking into what's going on, is Linda Hamilton as 100%. The human antagonist, the leader, the military scientist. She's brilliant.
Surprised.
She's always got that presence, and like, the more raspier her voice gets, just the more she has the most refined of that raspy voice, where you you just like listening to her, and she seems still tough. Like she gets into the scrap with Hopper. And of course it's, David Harbour is always good in what he's doing, but she doesn't look like her age. Like she's in her 70s now, and she's still and there's probably a combination of her and a stunt person, but she still has it, man. And having her in this story just continues to push another love letter to the 80s. Linda Hamilton is iconic 80s from the Terminator, just like Winona Ryder, just like, you had Sean Astin in season 2, and, the Goonies, which is a great parallel, because again, what are the Stranger Kids things if not just this generation's Goonies? Like that's what they are.
And I think that they did a good job of like you said, she was a great surprise. I'm actually glad I didn't know that she was in it, so then I could be
me too
surprised. Yeah, I was like, oh shit, Linda Hamilton. She did a great, like you said, she was a great antagonist. She was. And I like that you're wondering what her motivations were, and when I have the reveal of what you thought, that was great too. Like all these little pieces that
we still don't completely know. We still don't. Yeah. Like she said that she told when she sat there and said, we've been looking for you forever, sweetie. To 11, it didn't have the tenor of I want to capture this girl and do experiments on her and ultimately kill her, like the others seem to be focused on, calling her a freak and trying to hurt her. Now, obviously, she had a way to negate her abilities, but that was, anybody in that situation, a military officer is going to do, especially a scientist, is going to do that to ensure their own safety. That does not mean that her intent or what she wants is sinister.
And I think that, I like that she was an antagonist and she wasn't the villain.
Yes.
And Vecna is the villain of the show. She was definitely the antagonist. And now that we're starting to see what her motivations are, it's more intriguing. And I give the Duffer Brothers credit for that, because they introduced another antagonist into it, kept the big bad, but still it put other parts of dangers in it. And then it made it more interesting. And then also too, it gave all the characters something to do. I was actually surprised because these four episodes, I think I was a little bit expecting maybe more passage of time, but this was pretty much all wrapped around one thing. And then that kind of the crawl, right? They had one mission they wanted to do. It got botched. And then that botched mission basically took up the 4 episodes. Yeah. And I actually liked that because it gave all the characters something to do.
Yep.
It gave some good screen time to the characters that kind of got a little bit left. Like Will Byer got some good emotional time. Even Winona Ryder, Rockin' Robin saying with her, they kind of gave her a little bit more.
Man,
to,
she looked like the spitting image of Uma Thurman. I mean, wow! That is Uma Thurman Jr. If I ever, mm-hmm. She has shades of Ethan Hawke, but that is totally Uma Thurman.
Yeah, and she got, like I said, she did a really good job. And I think this season I thought was good for almost everyone else but the main cast, and it was kind of the main cast did their thing, which is great. Even with 11, I thought her and Hopper's relationship, and you get to see a little bit more of that and how that's he's starting to trust her now as a person that got powers and can do stuff. But it also too, I think the one thing we should just talk about it, get it out the way. The hairstylist from a man, Caleb McLaughlin, y'all, first of all, not even fired, excommunicated. That wig is so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
And you can't expect him to say anything that much because he didn't grow up in the 80s and he probably could have looked at, but they could have just for all of that, they could have just cut his hair and gave him a
short little fro.
Yeah, 100%. A short bob or easy, he initially had. He initially had a short bob, and that would have been good enough. Or if it just grew out just a little, lined it up a bit, done. That's all you need. But the Gumby, and then have that man's forehead, all his line.
It hurt my soul because it was in season 4 when he had the flat top wig. Hey, you know what? It actually worked. You got a nice fade.
It worked better than that.
100%. I don't know who in Hawkins is giving him a fade like that, but at least it looked presentable and something that of that time. Okay, cool. I could see that. But in this one right now, yo, they could have just like you said,
Earl, man. That's Earl in the garage doing that one, man. Like
hurt my
ain't no because and you would think you know somebody in his family or somebody at the church doing because that's Hawkins, Indiana, and they make up for the 0.5% of Black people in that town. The Lucas family. So,
dude, someone it just. But again, it was one of those things where like y'all didn't show no Black people, not one. I know you got some in the King.
I mean, the St. Clair family, but yeah,
like yo, just give him a little short fro, make it nice and neat. Done. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, that it hurt my soul. And it's one of those things where we've come so far in Black hair on television that just set us back. It was Tyler Perry bad, and that's something that you don't want. It was distracting as a Black person because it just took me out sometimes. I was just like, yo, what are we doing? But again, also, I think the other part that was kind of cool, like that was an annoying part, but the parts that were cool is I think giving everyone kind of like the chance to come up with plans and people trying to trusting that plan where, before it was pretty much Nancy Wheeler. Hey, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. Da, 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 da. It's Harper. It's Hopper's like, yo, we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go. But this time they kind of expanded that a little bit. Will came in with plan. And then other people started to contribute.
They start to let Will finally he'd been a victim so much in this show.
Yes.
And when he wasn't a victim, he was being not bullied by his mother and brother, but there's an element of that where they are so invested in keeping him safe now, and that they kind of took away any agency or trust that he would have on his own. And that's how he's written. That's how they're written. So now when you get, and I think the episode Sorcerer is the best. That's the fourth one. And where you learn this big thing, and I won't reveal it because again, it's still pretty early. So we'll respect the spoilers here, but there's a big moment for Will that's, challenges all of the world building that we've seen so far. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that. It is very cool. And I'm glad that Noah Schnapp gets a chance to do something other than, feel the, when the Demogorgon or Vecna's clothes feel the goose prickles on his neck. And that's the only about as useful as he is to warn him. Man. And even that isn't that useful since in this, when that happens in this season, it kind of sends him into a seizure type state where he's like just drooling and convulsing all over himself.
Yeah. And he's like feeling the pain, I guess, of them when they get hurt too. Like which
had happened in season 2 when they could establish that the Mind Flayer had possessed him and was in his body. So it's kind of like the whole fungus thing where the fungus grows and it's infecting the host. Whenever you attack the actual fungus, the host feels it and they start to convulse and feel the pain. So it reminded me a lot of that.
And I think I think overall, like the 4 episodes were highly entertaining. I like, again, we like these characters. We're happy to see them back, even with the quibbles and even though they look fucking old as shit.
And they tease story-wise Hopper's death a little too many times at this point. Like I think they need to give that up, especially because now you don't even care when it happens because this is the second or third time where he's gone to make that ultimate sacrifice and do what he's been trying to do seemingly since the beginning, which is find a reason to commit suicide. And
seriously,
for him to just turn around and be like, oh, it ain't Vecna in there, it's somebody else. And they build up all that. She crying her eyes out, and I'm just like, and when he came back out, I'm like, okay, they need to quit doing the Hopper.
Yeah, they could have just done it once, and they could have done it once and we'd be fine. But then they keep teasing it over and over again. Now we're just like, yo, we're to the point where we're like, we expect him to die at this point.
And even when we expect it to inevitably happen, when it does happen, it's gonna not have the same emotional impact on the audience because we've gone just like Glenn in The Walking Dead when Negan finally smashed his head in. It lost the same emotional impact that the comic book had because we had seen Glenn being teased to die like almost every season until we get to that moment. And then when the moment comes, it's brutal, it's gruesome. You feel for Maggie because Lauren Cohen is doing a good job. But
you're like, eh.
Yeah,
and then it makes it
not out of Abraham, and then in the comic book he only kills Glenn, so it's like
and it makes it cheapens it even more because then Maggie hangs out with Negan later on. Like what?
That can go take us down into a rabbit hole of complete non-sensory and mediocrity. But sticking with Stranger Things,
but to bring it back, I would say like overall. Yeah, overall they do a good job. I think the Hopper teasing of his death thing is, you're right. It's like overblown. It's almost like it's now beyond the wink and a nod and getting to the annoyance part where it's just like, yo, if you're gonna kill him, just kill him off, or if you're not gonna kill him, not kill him. Like it's completely fine, but like just pick a lane and then keep it moving because we're now in a space. We're in the end game, right?
So you don't lose your stakes and people stop caring. You know, it's just like if they had not have switched that up with Will, I would have been like, okay, just kill this kid because you're torturing him almost to death. Like literally every season we see that the upside down world has been raping his mind and body, excuse the use of the R word, but just defiling him up and down and around the corner, and he's not been able to do nothing but sit there and take it. So that was a very welcoming sight. We'll see where it goes and how they pay it off, but it did blow up some of what they've established already. So there's a little work to do in these next 4 episodes.
Yeah, I'm really curious how to square that away, because by no spoilers, but what they've done, and they've kind of upended a little bit of their world building, which is interesting. So I'm curious to see how they're going to square it. But
this game, overall, it's a bold move. Fortune does favor the bold, so we'll see. But yeah, it cuts across some of the things that they had already set up and established. So we'll see where it's not bad right now, but as we know that sometimes those ideas are harder to stick when you're trying to land the ending. So we'll see where it goes, but it was good to see him fight for a change.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we'll leave it there. Like you said, overall, we enjoyed it. We've come this far, so we're going to keep it to the end, and we'll do another recap of all the episodes.
It's still a fun, nostalgic show.
Totally. Yeah, and I think like, especially for us that grew up on 80s television and 80s like type of stuff, this is a perfect little spot. Like I know a couple people that's never watched Stranger Things, and I was like, yeah, man, if you want that kind of like 80s nostalgia, check out the first season. If you like it, keep it moving. If not, then drop it. I'm getting better now when I recommend stuff to people. I'm like, watch 2 to 3 episodes. If it doesn't grab you within those 2 and 3, you might have to let it go. And because you're not going to appreciate it anyways. And that's how I kind of like, except for The Expanse. The Expanse, I tell people, watch the whole season. If you can't get past the first season, just let that go, because it takes a good episodes to get in, but once it gets in, it gets you. But that's only if you're a sci-fi type of fan that can really.
You also have to watch
what the Expanse trying to do. Yes, agreed. This is not like in Stranger Things. I can put in the background, work, do some stuff, and I'm paying attention, a couple things, but I'm not like engrossed. But there's other shows you got to stop what you're doing, sit down, and really pay attention. And so, luckily, Stranger Things is in that middle ground where you can kind of do that. But as more and more television kind of moves on, I'm curious to see what's going to have that bring that to our attention. So once again, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back probably the top of the year when everything drops, and we can tell you our excitement or disappointment of how they stick the landing. Because I'm shaky. I think they could do it, but I don't know.
I think they can do it. We have many more often than not. But, I think they can stick the landing. I think the question is what are they going to try to set up in order for these spinoffs? Because that's gonna impact how they end their story. And if they're already planning to do a couple spinoffs, which they aren't just going to do the Nancy Wheeler thing. I mean, she's
100%.
She's a good character, but I don't know if she's interesting enough to follow as a lead on her own. So we'll see. But yeah, I think they can do it. We'll just see. The jury will be out if it's an upside down or if it's just around the corner and back again.
Yep, 100%. But once again, this is Blerdlines, and we are out.
Peace.